Silver. This word conjures images of royal dining tables, precious jewelry, and old coins. But few know that silver is one of the most critically important materials of our modern equivalent, and the entire world is on the brink of a global silver shortage that could shake the economy as profoundly as oil crises shook it in the past. Why has silver become so critical? If gold is an asset, then silver is the workhorse of the modern economy. Silver is not just an ornament or an investment. It is a metal without which modern civilization cannot exist. Here's why. Electronics and technology. Silver is the best electrical conductor of all metals on Earth. Its electrical conductivity is higher than copper or gold. This means that to create high-efficiency electronics, microcomponents, and contacts, silver is essential. Literally every smartphone, every computer, every television contains silver. Annual silver consumption in electronics accounts for approximately 25–30% of total production. Solar energy. In the era of the transition to renewable energy sources, silver has become a critically important metal. Each solar panel contains silver. It is used to create contacts that collect electricity. As the world transitions to solar energy, demand for silver is growing exponentially. In 2024, solar energy consumed about 20% of global silver production, and this figure grows by 15 to 20% each year. Medicine and healthcare. Silver possesses antibacterial properties that make it invaluable in medicine. It is used in wound dressings, implants, dental fillings, and in the production of medications. By some estimates, medicine consumes about 7 to 8% of global silver production annually. Photography and chemistry. Although demand has declined with the advent of digital photography, silver continues to be used in specialized photography, chemical reactions, and the production of certain compounds. Jewelry and silverware production. This classic use of silver remains stable, consuming about 25% of global production annually. Industrial applications. From soldering to solder, from mirrors to catalysts, silver is everywhere. Global silver production. Where does it come from? Annually, the world produces approximately 28,000 tons of silver. At first glance, this sounds like an enormous quantity, but when you start looking at demand, the numbers become frightening. The world's largest silver producers, Mexico, the world's largest silver producer. It accounts for approximately 22–25% of global production, about 6,000 tons per year. Peru, the second largest producer, accounting for approximately 18% of global production. China, the third largest producer, accounting for approximately 10–12% of global production. However, a significant portion of Chinese silver is a byproduct of other metal production, especially zinc and lead. Russia, Australia, and the United States are also major producers, but in smaller volumes. The problem is that approximately 70% of the silver produced in the world is a byproduct. That is, silver is mined not because it is sought, but because it is found in ore that is mined for other metals, primarily zinc, copper, and lead. This means that if demand for zinc or copper falls, silver production falls. Conversely, if companies decide to close mines due to low prices of the primary metal, silver automatically disappears from the market. The silver shortage. Figures and forecasts. What do analysts say? According to analytical companies, including the Silver Institute and various investment banks, the world is on the brink of a serious silver shortage. From 2020 to 2024, the world has been in a silver deficit. This means that global silver demand exceeds supply every year. In 2023, the deficit was approximately 5,000 tons. In 2024, the deficit increased to 8,000 tons. If current trends continue, by 2030 the annual deficit could reach 20,000 tons. This means that every year the world will lack an entire year's worth of silver production. Why is the deficit growing? 1. Growing demand for renewable energy. The world is investing trillions of dollars in solar energy. In 2024, installed solar capacity grew by 35% compared to 2023. Every year, more and more solar panels are being installed, and each one contains silver. In China alone, approximately 250-300 gigawatts of solar energy are installed annually. This requires thousands of tons of silver, and that's just China. 2. Electrification and digitalization. The amount of electronics on the planet is growing exponentially. Every year, approximately 2 billion smartphones are produced worldwide, each containing silver. Add to this billions of computers, televisions, IoT sensors, and other electronic devices. 3. Lack of recycling. Theoretically, silver can be recycled. Electronics, jewelry, photographic film, all of this can be recycled and return silver back to the market. But in reality, only 7 to 10% of silver is recycled. Most silver is lost, oxidized, mixed with other materials, or discarded in landfills. 4. Mine depletion. The world's largest silver deposits are beginning to be depleted. The quality of ore is declining, and the silver content in ore is decreasing. This means that to obtain the same amount of silver, increasingly larger amounts of ore must be mined, which is more expensive, more complex, and more harmful to the environment. 5. High prices stifle development. Paradoxically, high silver prices, which should lead to increased production, actually constrain consumer demand. If silver becomes too expensive, manufacturers look for alternatives or simply begin to economize on silver use. This does not stimulate mining expansion. How large companies use silver. Apple and electronics. Apple uses silver in every iPhone, iPad, Mac, and AirPod. The company produces approximately 250 million devices per year. Each iPhone contains approximately 0.34 grams of silver. This means that Apple uses about 85 tons of silver annually just for smartphones. But that's not all. When you add all other Apple products, the company uses approximately 500-600 tons of silver per year. This is approximately 2% of global silver production. Tesla and renewable energy. Tesla invests in batteries, electric vehicles, and energy storage. Each battery contains contacts, solder, and electronics that require silver. By some estimates, Tesla consumes approximately 200 to 300 tons of silver annually, and this figure grows every year. Samsung and LG. The world's largest electronics manufacturers consume hundreds of tons of silver annually. Samsung, LG, Sony, Panasonic, they are all major silver consumers. The solar industry. Companies specializing in solar energy, such as Jinko Solar, JA Solar, Canadian Solar, and others, consume enormous quantities of silver. By some estimates, the solar industry consumes approximately 7,000 tons of silver annually, and this figure doubles every 5 to 7 years. How countries and governments compete for silver. The United States. The United States understands that silver is a strategic material. America has included silver on its list of critical minerals. In 2024, Congress allocated $500 million for the development of rare and critical mineral production and recycling, including silver. The U.S. is trying to diversify silver sources and reduce dependence on imports. But the U.S. is not a major silver producer. The largest silver mine in America, Greens Creek in Montana, produces approximately 9 million ounces of silver annually, or about 280 tons. The European Union. The EU also recognizes the critical importance of silver. In 2023, the European Commission included silver on its list of critical raw materials. The EU is investing in the development of alternative sources and recycling. But Europe produces almost no silver. China. China is the world's largest consumer of silver. The country produces approximately 3,500 tons of silver annually and imports about 3,000 tons. China uses silver in the production of solar panels, electronics, and exports finished products worldwide. China has also attempted to create strategic silver reserves, but this is unlikely as it has not been officially confirmed. India is also a major consumer of silver, primarily for jewelry production. India imports approximately 6,000 tons of silver annually. Consequences of the silver shortage. Price increases. As the silver shortage grows, silver prices will rise. Over the past 10 years, silver prices have increased threefold. If the shortage continues, prices could rise another 2 to 3 times over the next decade. This means that electronics will become more expensive, solar panels will become less profitable, and many technology projects will become economically unfeasible. Slowing of renewable energy development. If silver becomes too expensive, the development of solar energy will slow down. Governments and companies will find alternatives or simply abandon solar energy in favor of other sources. This will harm the world's environmental goals for 2050. Substitution and innovation. Companies will begin searching for alternatives to silver. This could lead to the development of new materials that will require more time and money. But some applications of silver cannot be replaced without fundamental technological breakthroughs. Geopolitical tension. Countries that produce silver, Mexico, Peru, China, Russia, will gain greater power. They may use silver as a geopolitical tool, as oil was used in the 20th century. Possible solutions: increasing recycling. One of the simplest ways is to increase silver recycling. If 50% of silver is recycled instead of the current 7 to 10%, the shortage would be significantly reduced. This requires developing recycling infrastructure and incentivizing consumers to return electronics and jewelry for recycling. Developing new deposits. Companies are searching for new silver deposits. Afghanistan is estimated to have one of the world's largest silver deposits, but its development is hindered by political instability. Exploration work is also being conducted in Canada, Australia, and Argentina. Alternative materials. Scientists are working on developing materials that could replace silver. However, this is a long process, and many applications of silver are difficult to replace. Reducing consumption. Companies can optimize silver use by applying smaller quantities or using more efficient processes. This is already happening in the solar industry, where silver content in panels has declined by 30–40% over the past 10 years thanks to innovations. Even if we develop technologies that use less silver per watt, the overall consumption is increasing because we are installing more and more panels. Simple math. J.P. Morgan has held a short position in silver for years. This means that they had a financial interest in keeping the price low. If the price drops, they earn. If it grows, they lose. The bank was accused of manipulating prices through spoofing, placing large orders without the intention to fulfill them. J.P. Morgan paid $920 million for this in 2020. Deutsche Bank was fined $130 million for this. Paul Kaplan bought 30 silver contracts in May 2008 for $1,875 and sold them for $950, a loss of over $1.3 million. Scale this up, and retail traders' losses run into the billions. On Binance in December 2025, it was revealed that employees manipulated token prices through social media. The prices of some tokens have increased by 150%. Binance has already been fined $4.3 billion for using bots. What does this have to do with silver? All. This shows that manipulation is embedded in all markets controlled by financial institutions. Whether it's COMEX or Binance, the structure is the same. The institution controls the market through technical means, receives financial benefits from suppression or hype, uses power to manipulate the price. When people understand manipulation, the system collapses. Silver is in the fourth phase. Global silver production in 2025 is approximately 835 million ounces. This is 7.23% lower than in 2016. When production is reduced and demand is rising, you get a shortage. The 2025 deficit is projected at 125 million ounces. The vaults in London tell the story of the collapse. At the end of November 2025, there were 27,187 tons in London's storage facilities, estimated at $47.1 billion. The demand for supplies is growing. In the first week of December, over 47.6 million ounces were claimed for delivery from COMEX during 4 trading days. This is 60% of the monthly average stock. People are making demands for delivery. They don't want futures contracts. They want physical silver. Something extraordinary happened between June and October 2025. JP Morgan sold its entire 200 million ounce short position. They raised the white flag of surrender. They decided that it was no longer profitable to hold the price will fall position. Instead, they started building a long position. They started buying physical silver. It is estimated that their physical silver is about 750 million ounces. This means that the largest manipulator of the silver market has given up. They looked at the numbers and realized that they were on the wrong side of history. Sprott Asset Management forecasts a 125 million ounce silver shortage for the 5th year in a row. Hamada Mark expects 71 hours 73s in 2026. Bank of America expects $65 Oz by 2026. Samsung is one of the largest manufacturers of solar panels. When the price increased by 108%, Samsung was forced to change the supply chain, invest in recycling scrap silver, and revise designs. Intel is facing a problem. Silver is used in solder for electronics. When prices rose, Intel was forced to reassess production models. General Electric, which manufactures turbines, uses silver in the electrode. With the rising cost, GE raised the prices of the products. This is a margin compression stream. Manufacturers must either raise prices or absorb losses. Both results lead to higher prices. We're running out of silver. Silver extracted from new mines is decreasing. The mines are getting old. It takes more energy to mine less silver. The demand doesn't go away. We cannot build a future without silver. There is no way. The world is switching to solar energy and wind. It requires billions of panels. Each requires silver. There is no substitute. You can't use copper instead of silver in a high-performance panel. Silver is necessary for the life of the future. Saturday, December 13th, 2025. We survived the nuke margin. The global system tried to turn on the death button, and it didn't work. If you're holding physical silver, go easy. You own an asset that the world needs and cannot print. 1 ounce is always 1 ounce, and it becomes more valuable every day. The game has changed. The old rules are gone. New rules are a physical rarity. Whoever holds the metal makes the rules. Subscribe. And remember, in the war for resources, the physical wins over the paper.